mound, one on the pinky toe mound, and then one on the heel. So this is classically, I'll just stand here for 20 minutes, the 3 points of the foot that you would reference in standing. Now, some yoga teachers and systems will reference 4. So in other words, instead of 1 on the heel, the talus bone, imagine 2. So the corners of the heel. It doesn't really matter. I think that the triangle is just as good as the box, maybe a little stronger. So I just wanted to show you, and now I see people jumping in, so I'll just briefly show it again. I've marked up my foot with 3 X's. One on the, I don't know if you can see it. It's a little faint on the ball mound of the big toe. The other one on the ball mound of the pinky toe. And then 1 X on the heel. So these are, again, classically how you would teach a student how to stand in Tadasana, which you can all do now. Everybody has joined class, I think. And just take a look at your feet. You can place them any width that you like. Again, classically, we're going to bring the base of the big toes together and the heels slightly apart. But you may have certain restrictions, or it may feel better. It became in vogue about 10, 15 years ago to let the feet be wider apart. But classically, you bring the feet together in an effort to try and hug the midline. So if you just stand in Tadasana for a second, and the first thing I want you to do, whether you need a chair with one hand to balance or you're good, is to look down at your toes, lift the toes, engage the arches off the floor as much as you can. And I realize some people have fallen arches. And then to feel, if you can, the base of the big toe mound as you press the big toes down, anchoring. And that'd be your inner line, inner leg line. And then let the pinky toe mounds go down. And that'd be your outer line. And then go back to the heel, press the heel down. And that would be your back line, your, roughly speaking, your hamstrings, your lateral fascia, and your inner leg fascia. So, can you feel that again? You can bend your knees if you want. Put your hands on your knees to do this in a supported chair pose. Just take a peek down. Lift all your toes and spread them just so you can lift the arches. Get that activation that we talked about on Monday, which correlates roughly into the Uddiyana Bandha, that belly lifting here. So we can draw our low bellies in and take a few breaths with that bandha engaged. This is sneaky core work. And then take a peek down as you press your big toes back down to the mat. Feel the big toe mound. And see if you can feel or imagine that that's going to come right up into the Uddiyana Bandha line through the inner legs. Push the baby toe mounds down. And you feel the outer hips kind of going kerplunk and anchoring. And then the heel bones, so drop your hips a little, your tailbone a little bit, your low back, let it descend. And maybe you can feel the glutes start to engage. Okay, and then let's separate the feet. Take a forward fold while we're here and just drop the head, bend the knees. And hopefully, with your knees bent enough, you can look at your feet again. So take a few breaths just to let your hips, your knees, your feet get oriented. You can sway from left to right. And as you do, you can just listen to me. And as you push from one foot to the other, one foot receiving the weight, the other foot releasing the weight, as we did on Monday, just feel also the hips and the connection of the pelvic half of the foot that you're putting weight on, communicating or aligning like a nice canopy of the tree, the roots of the tree being the foot and the trunks of the tree being in the legs. And then just feel like if you were stomping on grapes as you go from side to side, that you're massaging the feet. Now come up with a rolling rounded spine, and we'll do some more before we go on to our backs. So some of you need some support with a chair or wall. You can take that. And we did this on Monday, but we're going to go to a little bit of a rotation of the knees now. So everybody should be able to go back to this jitterbug position and just carefully start to make circles. So you're going to go easy if you've got some sort of knee issues, that you go to one side and the knees say, this doesn't feel good. But you're circling the knees and you're letting the feet move. So if I were to exaggerate it and go wide, the outer edges of the feet alternate coming off the mat. And just feel as you do this, if you are balance challenged, you could of course do one hand on your chair, but you're experiencing the points that I showed earlier on the feet, pinky toe mound, big toe mound, heel mound. And in the action of the feet, warming up the muscles, the bones, and once again feeling how the hips, the knees, and the feet have to work together. Okay, let's take another forward fold. Very exciting class today. Now you're looking down at your feet, you're going to turn the toes out like a duck, and then sit down in Malasana, bending your knees, and then we're going to have a seat. So we'll do some warm-ups on our back just to get the feet and the knees moving, because everything has to work together when we come up to stand, and we want to make sure that all is well. So let's lay down, do some basic warm-ups. Carefully glide your back down into the mat. Slide your legs long. Let your arms be by your sides. And just take a breath to drop into the mat. So the first thing I want you to do is, with your feet kind of duck-toed out, laid out, take an inhale. And the arms can be by the sides. They can be reaching out from the shoulders if you prefer. Or they can be placed on your low belly, which will be the command center. So take an inhale, let the toes splay out like a duck, and start to engage the muscles of the legs a little more. Exhale, pigeon toe the toes toward one another. And just repeat, inhale, open the toes out, exhale, toes in. So again, you can be doing this just with your arms relaxed. And all you're doing is trying to feel, well, hey, can I spindle my legs in external rotation? On the inhale, can I pigeon toe and internally rotate the feet, the knees, and a little bit the hips, even though arguably the hips and the pelvis can't be moved all that much. Can't be moved once you're an adult. Some teachers would argue that the sacroiliac joints and the low back can do what's called nutation and move a little bit. So all we're doing is feeling, can you do it with one leg? Just take the left toes out, inhale, exhale, roll the toes in. And then intelligize just the left leg. And then can you do the right leg? Relax the left leg and just roll out, right toes, right leg, exhale, roll in. Okay, that's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and pull our right knee into our hands. And if this is too much on your low back or on your head, make allowances. So if your neck feels like it's too far back, take a towel under it. If your low back feels too rounded, then bend your left knee and put your left foot down underneath it. So I'm going to leave that up to you. And then as we inhale, we're going to draw the right knee in and exhale, move it away. Just as you're doing many times, just upswing, downswing of the right pelvic calf. Now we're going to add a piece. So I want you to think about you're going to hold the right knee with the right hand, what we just did with the spindling out. And as we open the knee to the right, halfway to the floor, I want you to let the toes cooperate. And then exhale, bring that right knee back to the midline. So rather than just holding your knee and moving with no discrimination of the hip, knee, and the foot joint, I want you to actually turn your right toes out to the right and let that action help the turning out or opening of the right hip. And just play with this so that the foot is now like the conductor of the orchestra, the conductor's baton. And we're actively turning our foot out and then in as we move the right hip out and in. If you did this about 50 times, you start to actually get tired. Let's straighten that right leg and bind the back of the right hamstring, the belly of it with both hands. And just go ahead and look up at that right foot. Do what we did at the start of class. Spread the toes, lift the arch, and then push with the heel bone up. Hold the toes back and just get a nice stretch here. Now, what if we were to just rotate the toes out to the right with our leg extended? As much as you can, your knee can be bent. And then exhale, pigeon toe in. Go easy if you've got a hip problem. Feel a little relaxed in the hips so you can feel that right pelvic calf moving with the foot. Okay, this sounds very easy, but as you look at your toes go out to the right on inhale and in, I want you to feel, don't lock your knee, that the knee, the hip, and actually the spine starts moving like a fish swimming side to side. Okay, let's for the moment release that right leg from captivity, slide it long or keep it back, and pull the left knee into both hands. Binding around the knee, the shin. Inhale, come toward, and exhale away. Then you're going to stop and hold only with the left hand on the left knee or shin. And inhale, take that left knee out to the left, halfway to the floor, and exhale, come back to center. And just start to breathe into the hip, into the belly. And most times when people do this simple motion, which is the preliminary movement toward a posture called Apanasana, it's an inner groin stretch, they don't intelligize the foot, but let's do that. Let's turn our left toes out like a duck to the left, and then roll them in. Let the foot move with the breath and move with the hip. And just feel, if you can, how the cooperation of the foot everting, inverting, really seals the deal, so to speak, or makes the whole operation a little bit more rigorous. And also gets you to pay attention to your feet instead of stuffing them in some shoes. All right, so let's go ahead and straighten that left leg and bind it. And you don't have to lock the knee, but hold the toes back toward you as if you're lifting them off an imaginary ground or ceiling. And then if you were pressing your foot to the ceiling, the heel bone go up. Again, you don't have to have your legs straight, you have the foot active. And then as you inhale, evert, so take the duck toes, left toes out to the left, and exhale, roll or pigeon toe to the center. And go easy if you've got some knee issues, some low back, but you should start to feel your pelvis. And my head even starts moving. Again, this fish-like motion as I move the foot. And it's much better to have a slightly bent knee so you don't damage the knee. These are really simple exercises, but again, if you did this 50 times, and I'm holding my upper leg bone so I don't get into trouble, you would have an incredible workout. Okay, let's release that leg down, slide the legs straight along the floor, close your eyes and just listen and feel your body now. So how do your legs feel now? Probably feel a little bit of, if you did this correctly, a little bit of engagement in the transverse abdominals and the core and this low belly area that we need to awaken every morning when we get out of bed. So it's very interesting this way. Now we're going to just roll over onto our left side. So take a peek if you're going to be away from camera. And we did a little bit of this work on Monday, but it's a little bit different today as we come into a side body work. Okay, so one of the things with the feet and the knees and the hips is that the joint capsules have to be strong. So we're just doing these initial leg lifts. We're going to lift our right leg up, inhale, and exhale, close. So not a big deal for most of you. You can prop your head up like I'm doing with your left hand. You can be balancing with your right hand, and you don't have to go that high. But what are those feet doing now? As you come up, can you kind of push with the inner edge of the right foot and extend that further away from you? As you come down, can you push or emphasize the outer edge of the foot? So now the foot starts moving a little bit. These games are endless. Next time you come up, pause, and exhale. You're going to just bring your knee to your nose on the side body like that. Just tap. Kick out, inhale, and tap. And we're just getting a little strength around the hip, a little strength around the outer leg. Now can you come into the full pose and place the right foot on the inseam of the left leg? Now what's going on? So now we've gone from outer leg strength to reversing the curve or moving externally in that duck-footed arrangement that we've been doing. So the right toes, we're going to pick these up, have gone from being turned inward to being rolled out. So what are we doing here? But the same thing was having you do on our backs. So take a peek. I'm going to show, I had you holding this knee, turning the foot and the hip out and in. So if I were really crazy, I would do this on my side body. But we have a yoga pose that allows you to feel this more safely and connect the dots. But still, I want you to feel if you get into the posture here with the right foot and the inseam and the left leg, that you're turning the right toes to the right. So the foot is doing something here. And those that want to come into a full version of the pose, you can strap up the right foot and hoist up your sails. That's up to you. It's not so big a deal. But even here, if I go up, for those that have gone up, I'm going to rotate externally the right toes out. And this is doing many things, but one thing it's doing is lengthening through the inner leg or the adductor, and is contracting a little bit through the outer leg, the outside of this right leg. So we can play all sorts of games here, but like a child on its back, if you were to play with the feet, watch kids with their feet and they're endlessly fascinated, you'll start to see what I'm after. We're going to just switch to the other side. These are all just warm-ups. Again, taking whatever modifications you need. You can put a towel roll under your ribs as you stack your left leg over your right. And you can balance with your left hand like this. And you're just going to lift the left leg up on inhale and down. So everybody's done these exercises before. What's the big deal? But what are your feet doing? So more than just pulling the toes back toward you, can we lift the left leg and push and extend through the inner edge of the foot? Think of that big toe mound pushing and moving away further. And exhale as you come down, can you push and extend through the outer edge, the knife edge, the pinky toe edge. And so the foot is kind of moving with the hip. And this creates multiple and interesting sensations. And we're going to stay up and then tap on the side body, the left knee toward the left elbow. And the left hand is propping up like a kickstand. And okay, you've done this one before, so do it 100 times, but try to think of what the foot is doing to cooperate. Flexing the toes toward the knee as you pull into your essentially lizard-like pose. And then as you exhale and kick away, thinking of that talus bone, that heel bone, engaging so that the back of the leg is engaged, the side of the leg is engaged. Okay, let's roll onto our bellies for a second. Take easy cobra and come up onto the forearms. And just get your frontal hip bones placed nicely. And now we'll come onto the tops of the feet just to stretch them for a couple breaths. Lift the chest and engage the extensors in the back of the shoulders. Start to push into the tops of the toes. And press gently into the belly area with your hips. Stretch the hip flexors. So a lot of this work will engage the hip flexors, and we need to periodically just allow them to stretch. Place the head down, sweep the hands back near the shoulders, and cricket your arms. Inhale up through a mild cobra, and then glide back to downward dog or child's pose, your choice. I'm going to take a few breaths in child's pose before I come up to my downward dog with bent knees. And then we'll come feet toward hands, flat back, placing the hands on the shins. You can bend your knees slightly, lengthen the back of your neck, and draw your belly in. Look at your feet, same thing. So it's a little scary to lift all 10 toes off for some of you. But if you can, stay at flat back. Your hands could be on a chair instead of your shins. Inhale, as you exhale, push the toe mounds down, the pinky toe mounds down, and the heels down. Then come up with the feet grounded to chair pose. So can you feel your feet in those three corners of the feet really anchored down? And take your hands to your outer hips like this, and just like you're gonna draw the outer hips down, let the hips connect with the feet. And you can go back and forth, forward and back with the position of the hips to find the ideal position of the hips that allows them to communicate with the feet. And then you're going to stand in Tadasana and keep your hands on your hips. And did you lose communication by completely locking your knees? So take an inhale, lift the toes off the mat again, engage the arches, engage Uddiyana Bandha in your belly, your deep core, and then exhale, sink down very slowly. And you can watch me do it a few times, and then I want you to do it yourself. And just find Utkatasana legs as you come down. You place the toes down, you feel the three corners of the feet, and you descend through the hips. Inhale, come up, lift the toes off the mat. Exhale, place the toes down, sink down. And we're doing this very slowly as we start to slow down and deepen our breath. Lift. And really it's for foot awareness. Basic stuff. So come up and take a peek. Now we're going to learn how to walk first back, then forward. To do the same thing, inhaling, lift the toes off, exhale. You can peek down and look at the ground at your feet, bend the knees, and then just see if you can glide the right foot back to warrior one. And then inhale, come forward, knees together, and exhale, stand. Inhale, lift the toes off. Exhale, sink, toes down. Feel your three corners. Shift the weight to the left foot, right foot back with the heel in. Warrior one. Step the feet together. Inhale and exhale, stand. Now I'm just going to start to move. Inhale, exhale. And I do this very slowly. As if I were doing Tai Chi. Now you don't have to go very far back if you have balance issues. But what I want you to feel like a cat with its paws is your contact with the mat. Really almost have a sense of gripping the mat. Particularly on the exhale pattern. Inhale engages and lifts the arches, and exhale as you plant. Think of a cat kneading with its paws. A couple more rounds. Now if you're more advanced, you have a lower descent of the knees or a deeper bend and a bigger step back. If you're injured or it just doesn't feel right for your body, then you're working up high. And it doesn't matter. The main or the primary thing is that you want to feel the feet being active here. Okay, and then relax for a second and stand. Feel the feet, the knees, and the hips. Then we're going to step back to the back of the mat. This is all very exciting, I'm sure. Hands to hips. And then we're going to sink down into our Uttanasana. And we're going to step forward and then back. So don't go too far first. Your heel goes down, then your big toe mounds. And then, so say I'm just going a little bit. Heel, and then the two toe mounds, and then back. So just take a halfway forward. Step, heel, toe mound, sink. So what you start to realize as you do this, and go ahead and do this, is that there's a retraction or pull back through the back foot to, even if you were to slide, you're a Californian, rather than try to balance. And try not to go kerthunk. So if you're standing here and you're like, everybody's been in the yoga class where the person comes forward and goes, kerplunk, like that. Try to think like a cat. Again, you can slide back like that if you have balance issues. Okay, how about some extra credit? So for those that want to, you're going to take your right knee up, bring your hands up like this, and then you're going to step heel down, and you're going to press the arms down like that, like you're pushing on a weight bar. And let the hands come all the way to the hips, bend the knee. Slide back. You're going to lift the left knee, the hands come up. Then you're going to step forward with the heel and ground, and then push down with the arms like that, lift the chest. And then drag the hips forward. Right foot up, heel, press, slide into the toes. Drag back. Up comes the left knee. Maybe you're just able to lift your left heel off the ground. You're not able to lift the foot. It's reaching up. You think like a cat again, like you're going to scratch someone. And then you put the heel down. Could be just like a foot forward. And then as you roll the weight evenly in the feet, press. Okay, one more time, then we'll all do a warrior one. So you lift the right heel or the right leg off, up come the arms, step, heel down, press with the arms, slide the hips down, and here we are in warrior one. Now let's lift the arms up, complete the pose. Take another inhale, lifting the side ribs, back ribs up and up and up. Now open your mouth and just exhale and swing the arms. And do it again. Inhale, sink the hips a little. Feel the feet, feel the hips connecting down to the feet, soles of the feet. Exhale. Just do this a few times. So what's this silly exercise? Is to get you to relax the arms and the upper body so you don't uproot. The arms should be soft and expansive. So that as I bring them up, I can sink my energy down through the belly into the soles of the feet. And then you can sit here and breathe to your heart's content. And the arms have a quality of opening to them. Let's come back, try the other side, lift the left heel. The arms come up like a cat scratching, the heel goes down, press, hips forward. And bring the arms up into the picture as the heels sink. But most of the time, once you brought the arms up, the shoulders are tight, the neck is tight, so we inhale, lift the ribs, exhale, swing the arms. And as you swing the arms, you may be a little wobbly. So how the soles of the feet and the pelvis. Inhale and exhale. Sink into the mud of the mat, or think of the mat as being squishy mud. And find that lower body connection. Then you can stay and breathe, being aware of the sinking nature of the hips into the feet and the lifting nature of the arms. Okay, step the feet together and then come back to the front of the mat again. So now I want you to just swing, come to the side like you're going to do Prasarita. We're going to swing the ribs a little bit. And we're going to lift one heel off the ground and the other heel. So as we swing to the right, like a golfer, the left heel comes up. And just to feel the ribs moving a little bit, because we're going to get into the ribs now. You're going to place your hands on your knees like this. So we've gone from stepping the feet together, which we did originally when we did these little rotations, to now being a little fancier and having the horse riding or goddess stance, dropping our hips and propping our arms on our knees. So look at your feet again and see that they're parallel. Then you can slide your hands a little higher up your thighs like that. Fingers in, the heels of the hands out. Inhale, drop your hips a little lower until your hips and pelvis feel like they're connecting with the feet. You can rock back and forth. And how's that low back? Inhale here and just rotate your gaze to the left. Inhale to center and rotate. Remembering the lesson from last week, how the ribs roll. And as you do these, again, pretty simple exercises today, can you feel grounded in the feet, the pelvis, through the knees? So this is a classic way to come up to goddess now to build strength. And to do this, I need to really focus on where my feet are being, or where my feet are connecting to the ground, how my pelvis, how my knees feel. You'll soon get tired, most of you. And then hands to heart. I'm going to stand up, take your heels out a little bit, and dive into a Prasarita Tadasana forward fold. So you can bend your knees a lot here. You can drop your head. Any variation that feels appropriate for your morning body. You can hold your ankles. But as you do this, you can work on flat back, where you can get wider in the feet. Take a peek at those feet, in those three corners of the feet, big toe mound, pinky toe mound, heel mound. Make sure they're anchored. Super important that the feet are actively going for the ground. And then flat back, one hand to one hip, the other hand to the other hip, and coming up. So don't go too wide, but now what we're going to try to do is make an elliptical pattern like a kayaker. I'm going to do this with my hands just to give you the pattern, but it's really in the feet. So we're going to make a figure eight, and this is how it's going to look. We're going to go over to the right, and then we're going to go to the left. And this is going to be very tricky because the knees, the feet, the hips are all going to be moving. The arms are going to be moving. But now that you've seen visually what it looks like, Now you're going to take your hands to your hips like this, and the hips and the feet are going to move together. Think of a shark, think of a fish, and I'm going to roll the waist to the left, and then the weight comes into the left foot. When I get there, I roll the waist to the right, and I go to the right foot. Okay? I'm exaggerating with my upper body, but really it's this waist motion. If I slow it down, and I'm working in the inner knee and the outer knee and the inner foot and the outer foot. So really grip the mat. Now, if this creates any pressure on the inside, the outside of the knee, you're just going to get narrower. Get a little closer like that, and you're just working in here. But this is very non-yogic because the yogis, most of them, don't want you to move in the hips. I'm tossing that out the window. And the hip and the knee and the foot are all talking to one another. Now, if you want to get a little more complex about this, stop for a second, think about it. As you roll over to the left, as I roll over to the left foot, I'm going to go to the back or left heel. Then I'm going to roll forward to the pinky toe mound. And then I'm going to roll over to the big toe mound. As my waist turns the other way, I'm on that big toe mound. Now as I transfer the weight over to the right, kerplunk, I'm in the right heel. I roll forward to the right pinky toe mound. I transfer over as the knee moves in to the big toe mound. The hips are shifting. I go over to the left heel, roll forward left pinky toe. Now I start to shift with the hips, big toe, shift, kerplunk. I'm over to the right heel. I roll forward to the right pinky toe mound. The waist start to shift to the left. I'm in the big toe mound. So now I'm making a complete figure eight. Now if I want to show off, and I don't have any knee problems, then you're starting to go into Skandasana, right? Down you go. This is if you didn't have any issues. But I'm not suggesting you do that. I'm just showing you that this is legitimate yoga pose work. But what we're really doing is emphasizing the hips and the feet, all which is going to give us better balance, better feet. Let's take a forward fold again and see how the knees and the feet feel now. Stay at flat back for a second. Push in your big toe mounds and scoop your belly in. Exhale, roll out to the pinky toe mounds and back to the heel. Feet both grounded. Support around the knees. They can be bent. And then come into it. So never do a pose with inactive feet. Let's come up to flat back, bend the knees, feel the feet, hands to hips and come up. Okay, so let's do a little bit more. Walk your feet together and just rotate a little bit. I know this is a little odd for some of you, but it's good practice. So now we're going to do something which we've done in the past that's even more fun, but more complicated, called coiling. And so we've done coiling before, and what is a coil? Well, coil is like a Garuda Asana. If I were to just come right into it. It's a torque in the body of counter forces. But we can do coiling much easier than that when we do our Broadway musical step. So standing, all you're going to do is cross your right your left foot in front of your right like that. You can lift the heel. And then you're going to bend your right knee so it goes right into the back of that left bent knee. Take your hands to your hips like that. You're going to squeeze the inner thighs a little bit and lift the chest. Drop the tailbone. So like two snake coils, or if your lower body were a double serpent helix, and you feel the knitting or the entwining of the legs. Now what do the feet feel like? You feel the three corners. Come up, inhale, cross right foot in front of the left. Lift the right heel and bend the left knee just a little bit. And kind of hug the inner thighs, square off the hips and lift the chest. So how do the feet feel now? The arch is lifted. And then you're just going to do this. Cross and sink. Inhale, come up. Cross and sink. Again, if you feel any pressure in your knees, in your hips and your waist, you go very easy. And if you're sitting here a little bit bored, you can add your Tadasana, but the issue there is that most people will lose the communication of their hips to their feet, which we're just isolating today. That hip drop into the feet, through the knees. Once you go up to the arms, most people get very grabby. So again, I really want the arms to have a soft quality or just relaxed. And you're just building strength in your feet through the knees, through the inner legs. And that's that. So how would we take a break if you need? I know this is hard work. Can you feel it in your hip flexors? Take a down dog. Let's take a down dog. Or a child's pose. Get it all stretched out. And then walk back to your forward fold from down dog. Lift the arches of your feet. And relax. Bring the feet together, bend the knees, come up through chair pose. Feel the three corners of the feet. Feel the pelvis communicating with the feet. And then stand. So how would the coiling work in yoga? So remember how we started class with some stepping, and we did back stepping, we did forward stepping. So now what I want you to do is to walk with a duck-footed front foot. So I'm going to step forward with my right foot, but instead of just letting the heel drop and the foot plant straight, I'm going to turn the right toes out to the right. I'm going to roll my waist to the right like that. And come back to center, drag your foot back. When I lift the left knee or I slide it forward just a little, you put your hands on your hips. I'm going to turn the left toes out to the left, bend the knees and roll the hips to the left. How did you do? So if you're trying this and you're just wiping out, then you just take your chair like this. Okay, right toes forward. Heel down first, then toes, and then I turn the right foot out to the right. I sink the hips down and roll my waist and my gaze to the diagonal. Step back, feet together, and lift the left foot up. Heel goes down, back knee is bent. Then I turn the left toes out, I bend into the front knee, and I roll my hips to the left. So this is the beginner way, and then if you don't need a chair, then here it is. Come forward, step, turn out, and rotate. Go back to center. To the other side, lift the left leg heel plant, turn the toes out, turn the waist. So the foot is directing the turn of the waist or working with it. So these are all really basic exercises that we're going to use to advance our yoga practice. And naturally, some of you are already jumping the gun and saying, well, I've got the feet now. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I can Garuda Asana. Oh, I could go all the way down to horse pose. Oh, a yoga pose has suddenly sprung from beginner practice. Right foot. Notice the heel goes down. You need to bend that back knee. Ball mound, the big toe, pinky. Rotate out to the right. Sink forward. Oh, you want more? Garuda Asana. Left arm under right. You want more? Now, using my feet to hips technology, drop all the way down to the back knee. Then up. Rotate back. Release. Do a few more, you're going to get tired. So those that have it can just come right into the rotation and the coiling and uncoiling. And I encourage you to just work with the feet to start with. It's going to be enough. Heel, toe mound, turn, sink. Step, heel, both toe mounds, turn out, then both knees sink and coil. And then release. Take a forward fold or a downward dog. You're probably feeling some new muscles. Or just take a swing of the arms, and we'll start to close this off. So why is this so, I think, revolutionary in yoga practice? Because as you walk around today, I want you to really feel that you have options with your feet. Turning in, turning out. And I'm working from the feet. So that where the feet turn, the hips are turning. If you're just walk around your mat and pretend you're on a modeling pavilion, the heel, the turn. How do you rotate your body when somebody says, hey, right? And so on Friday, we're going to try to work with some more sophisticated and interesting ways of working with the feet, stepping up into poses, stepping back, turning out to warrior twos, and working through the feet and the hips, and going from side to side. Show you the preview of coming attractions with the coiling. And you'll get there, but the feet being so primary to the whole process. Let's have a seat and unwind a bit. You're going to take your Baddha Konasana for a moment with the soles of the feet together. Take your fingertips behind you, let those adductors air out a little bit after all that inner thigh work. And if your knees don't go to the ground very easily, you're working with towels or blocks under the leg, actively pressing into the block of the towel. And then we'll straddle out as we did on Monday. Upavishta, but I don't want you to lock the knees, and I know Lee is rejoicing, but many of the rest of you may rejoice as well, because another Very challenging thing with yoga is that with straight legs, the notion of straight legs. I'm going to take my towel roll like a big noodle here. And when you lock the knees, your hips and your feet can't communicate. So I'm going to slide my towel roll under my knees like this. And my hips, my knees, and my feet are communicating. Pull the toes back, bring the hands forward. And actively think of pulling up through the arches as you pull the toes back and threading through the bent or lifted knee. And then right into the belly, scooping the belly in. So as if you had a sewing needle with your breath on your inhale through the arches of the feet, through the knees, into the hips. So you never want to lose that connection. And this is the same as Prasarita Padottanasana, which we did, straddle split on the ground, but we've got to feel the feet here. And then coming up and just going from side to side, turning your toes to the right, and then turning your torso. Come back to center with the knees lifted, turning the toes to the left, and then turning the torso. So now the feet and the knees and the hips getting a little roll out. Sneaky, sneaky work in the feet, the knees, the core. And then let's have a little lie down before we close off class. Or if you prefer to sit, your legs and hips and knees are probably in really good working order for a seated close off. But I encourage you to lay down and to just shake each spindle of each leg. Shake the hips, the waist, shake the arms, and uncoil any tension. And stay in that Shavasana as long as time permits. Otherwise, rolling off to one side and coming up seated. So hopefully that was helpful. I'll try to record